Okay, welcome to the 2022 Scouching Draft Recap Series. We're looking at the Boston Bruins today, and the Bruins, in my tracking work over the last few years, you could easily make an argument that they have maybe the worst prospect cupboard in the league right now. And part of that is because they keep trading away their picks, but I get the feeling as well that their drafting has just been very messy. Fabian Lysell, to me, was the exception to the rule, but this year I wasn't super high on this group. They started with Matthew Potras at 54. There could be a decent middle six guy here. I didn't have him ranked. I just didn't see much out of him where I'm going, I am going to beat the table for this guy in any range where he's going to be likely to go. I just felt like NHL teams valued him a lot more than I did. He's a decently skilled player, reasonably smart, making plays. He's a really good finisher. He's got a nice quick release on his wrist shot, and that can help him, certainly. But I just never saw enough needle moving. And I mean, maybe him and I guess Hunter Height are OHL guys where I could see them sort of popping next year and really producing after having a full season under their belt to recover after losing all that time during COVID. But I don't know. I wasn't really blown away with Matthew Potras this year. I like Jilkin more, but the skill level with Potras and the brains and the finishing ability are decent to build on. I would have gone a different direction at 54, considering who was on the board, but such is life, and I can see Potras being in the NHL at some point. Cole Spicer at 117, again, I watched a lot of the NTDP this year, and seeing Cole Spicer go 117th and a guy like Tyler Duke go undrafted when Spicer just wasn't really doing much of anything, except in like 5% of the time he was just dangling and doing some really, really high-end highlight stuff. If you can get more of that over the next little while, more consistency in that world, then I think he'll be just fine. I like Cole Spicer. Spicer is a decent, skilled offensive player, but I just didn't see much needle moving. I didn't have him ranked. He was on my watch list for a while, but I mean, I'm not surprised he got drafted, but it was quite high for my thoughts on him. Donslack Mellis, similar boat. I mean, I liked Sandis Vilmanis a little bit better. They were teammates, both on the Latvian junior team and in Sweden with Luleå. I thought Vilmanis had more skill and finishing ability, and the size helps him, whereas Lockmellis sort of was a good puck distributor, really smart, sort of cerebral player, but I don't think anything really puts him over the edge, personally. Again, at 119, I can't be complaining too much, but I don't know. It's just another one of these ones where it's kind of fine. You might end up with a bottom, like a third or fourth line puck distributing guy, which, cool, but I feel like that's a ways away for Lockmellis. At 132, they took Frederick Brunet. I mean, I've seen Brunet a little bit over the course of the year. He is one of the younger re-entry players. I don't know. Again, he's another QMJHL guy where I watched him and I'm going, okay, I can see how he's a good defenseman in the QMJHL with some skill and some offense and some shiftiness off the blue line to create, but none of it was really so mind-blowing that I was targeting him in the draft. We'll see what happens. Again, it's a pretty late pick, and it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out. You send him back to Quebec for a year or two to Rimouski and see what he can do. Maybe there's an AHL defenseman there. I don't know. I don't have huge hopes for Frederick Brunet. Reed Dick at 183. I mean, he got a lot of practice at the U18, stopping a lot of pucks for the Canadian team that was not very good. And I thought he played pretty well in that tournament. Like, he played very well. And he's a goalie, so who knows what'll happen with him. He plays in Swift Current. Ideally, that team gets a little bit better over the next couple of years, but if they don't, he'll be facing a lot of pucks and get a lot of practice. And, Boston pulled a rabbit out of their hat a little bit with Jeremy Swayman. Who knows if they've got another one here in Reed Dick. I've liked him. I would have drafted him in this range, sure, if his name came up. I thought he would have been gone earlier. Decent pick from Boston there, and we'll see what happens. Jackson Edward at 200, a guy who I had never seen before. It's the 7th round. What do you want from me, right? I don't think Edward really stood out to me at all in any way when I watched him after the draft. I mean, the data I dug up didn't really give me much to write home about. I could show you, but it's, just very mediocre across the board. But the notes I have, he's big. Many teams seem to draft guys like Jackson Edward, where they're big, safe, dependable, and if you get a minutes eater in the 7th round, then you've done well in the 7th round, which is fine if he can hang. And can he do that now? I don't think so, but I think he plays like a Bruin, right? Like, he's physical, he plays hard, he's strong on the puck when other teams have it. He's very intense and very physical, but I don't really see like a needle moving defenseman right now in the OHL. But we'll see where he is in 2 years. That's really all you can do. I mean, look, the Boston Bruins, I don't think have totally rejuvenated their prospect cupboard here. I don't think they're even interested in doing that. I don't know. At some point, the NHL team is going to get older and start to sort of struggle a little more. And I just don't think the pieces are there to sort of sustain long-term success in Boston. I gave them a solid 3B here. I don't really have any super negative things to say about this draft. They might end up with a couple of like depth options. Potras might be a middle six sort of complementary offensive player. But I look at Boston and go, even at 54, I feel like they could have aimed higher there. It's just that at 54, I feel like Boston could have aimed a little bit higher. Like if we just expand the entire draft and go to 54, Salamonson went off the board a pick later. Gleb Trikazov was still on the board. Like this range is very curious to me. Trikazov, Goyette, Hudson, Sikora, Odelius. Like in my view, Adam Sikora should be a Boston Bruin over Matthew Potras, but such is life. You can't always have the things that you want, but Lane Hudson available there. Like Torrey Krug, I think they miss him in Boston. Ty Nelson at 36, or I had ranked 36th. He went 68, There were just options that I think I would have pushed for ahead of where they went, but you can't complain. I think they did decently okay considering they only had one pick in the first 3 rounds, but I don't have high hopes for the Boston Bruins rejuvenating their prospect pipeline with their 2022 haul, but we'll see what happens next year for the Boston Bruins. But in any case, that's going to be it for them. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at the Edmonton Oilers, and that should be a relatively quick one, so we'll see you there.